When looking at the absolute value of a number, we're looking at the number of units it is from 0 on the number line. We're looking at a measurement. In other words, we're looking at distance. And when you think of distance, you think of you cannot go a negative distance. Distance is always positive. So what that means is absolute value is an operation, and they're represented by our pair of vertical bars. If you're taking the absolute value of a negative number, you're trying to determine what is that distance of that number from 0. So when you perform the absolute value operation, you just turn the number positive because distance is always positive from it. And it doesn't matter if you're taking the absolute value of a positive number, you keep it positive by performing the absolute value operation. So what we need to do is we need to look at what number is inside the bars. And that's important because if we look at this first problem, evaluate if x equals -2, when you're taking the absolute value of 3x minus 6 plus 2, when we're evaluating, we need to remember we have to follow our order of operations. And so the way we learn order of operations a lot is by memorizing the phrase PEMDAS, the word PEMDAS, and you think, do parentheses first, then exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. But we forget that parentheses isn't just parentheses. You don't perform just parentheses operations inside. You perform operations inside of grouping symbols. Parentheses is just one particular grouping symbol. If we look at this, absolute value is a grouping symbol. We're going to have to simplify inside first, get a number inside these bars first, and then perform the order of operations. So let's plug in -2. So we have 3 times -2 minus 6 in the absolute value, and then we're going to add 3.2 afterwards. So that gives us the absolute value of -6 minus 6 plus 3.2, which is the absolute value of -12 plus 3.2. And so now that I have a number all by itself, I can perform my absolute value operation. -12 is going to turn into a +12, and so we drop the bars. And so you get 12.3.2, 12 plus 3.2, which gives us 15.2. So that is our answer when we evaluate the expression. So we do inside the grouping symbols first, inside our absolute value first, and we keep going until we get one number all by itself. And then we perform the absolute value operation. If it's negative, make it positive. If it's positive, just drop the bars and keep it positive. So let's look at example number 2. Evaluate the absolute value of -2x plus 5 if x is positive 4. So we have the absolute value of -2 times 4 plus 5. So -2 times 4 is really -8. So I have the absolute value of -8 plus 5, which gives me the absolute value of -3. So remember, I don't do anything with these bars. I keep bringing them down until I get a number all by itself, and the absolute value of -3 is +3. And let's try this last one. Evaluate the following if x equals -3. This one's a very important one to know how to do, and this is why I addressed in the beginning the idea of order of operations. Some people want to take the idea of, oh, I distribute the 3 inside. Well, first off, this is in parentheses, so we don't distribute. We're taking 3 times the absolute value of 5x minus 10. This is our grouping symbol, the absolute value bars. We have to get this all by itself down to one number, then take the absolute value and finally multiply by 3. So that multiply by 3 is going to be that last step in the problem. So 3 times the absolute value of 5 times -3 minus 10. 5 and -3 multiply together gives us -15. So really I have 3 times the absolute value of -15 minus 10, which is -25. Now that I have a number all by itself, I have to perform this operation of absolute value. So the absolute value of negative 25 is positive 25. And so we have 3 times 25, which is 75. So when we are simplifying or evaluating numerical variable expressions, given the value of a variable, we need to remember our order of operations. We need to remember first do your grouping symbols. Don't look at it as parentheses first. Look at it as do your grouping symbols first. Simplify inside the absolute value bars, and then work your way out following the rest of the order of operations.